Oh shoot, Emmy. We've upped our subscription to 2,000, so.
We'll just do a little tip.
From Beals, Florida.
Uh-oh, better mute, folks. Are live on, are we live, Adina?
Yes, we are live.
Okay, great. Welcome everybody to our second meeting for parents. Thank you for joining us. Just a reminder that this is a conversation about remote learning. And move to the next slide. And also another reminder about how you will enter questions if you're on Facebook.
Dr. Kitamura, I'm sorry, my screen has frozen.
Okay, that's okay. Just go ahead and stop sharing. It's fine. So you can put your questions in a couple of ways. One, if you're here on the Zoom as an attendee, you can do it through the Q&A. And that's a little box down at the bottom of the bar of the page. So you can enter your questions there. The other way is if you are in the Facebook, you can answer, and you're watching us through Facebook, you can enter your questions through the comments, and then they are being transferred over to us so we can answer them in this, meeting. Remember, we're not doing hands here, so you can go ahead and put your hands down. We're doing the question and answers through the Q&A, again, which is at the bottom of your bar on Zoom. What I'd like to do first, though, is start off by sharing my screen because I want you to see the where the FAQ is for you. And so here we go. So what you see here is the Rosa City Schools website. This is just when you go into srcsschools.org. This is the first page that comes up. And if you scroll down past Superintendent Thurman and myself on the board, you will see a quick link that says return to school information right here. So if you click that, this is a message that'll come up. If you can see this when we have important information. So I have that. You'll see overview of return to school and FAQ. This FAQ are the questions that you have provided for us. And so if you click on that, and we've divided it up. We've divided it up into remote learning. So there are your questions there. And if you click this little arrow here, the answers are in there. And then if we go back, if we go down, there's about learning house, distance learning for middle and high school. So if you click back to FAQ and you have a question specifically about meals, there are questions that you've asked and the answers here under meal. So I just wanted to show you that so that you know that we are taking your questions and putting them into this FAQ. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing my screen. And we're going to, I want to let you know that we have so far families that have chosen what type of remote learning they'd like to do. There are 8,488 responses. So we still have a little bit to go. We still have about 7,000 students that we need to find out where it is that you would like to, what it is you'd like to do for remote learning. Distance learning completely until December, or distance learning and hybrid. If there is no selection, the default will be distance learning hybrid. So just to let you know, and remember, tomorrow is the deadline to make your selection. So out of the 8,488, we have 5,249 who have selected distance learning hybrid. 2,857 have selected distance learning through December. And we have just under 400 students that have selected Learning House. I do want to let you know, and you'll be receiving a letter, that the numbers in Learning House for 11th and 12th grade and possibly 10th are not quite as robust as we had thought we would have liked to have been. And that's okay. That's okay. But what we think is it's best if the 10th, 11th, and 12th stay within their distance learning or distance learning hybrid schools so that we can be sure they have the full expanse of courses and can finish up their graduation requirements and plan post-secondarily. So you'll be hearing more about that tomorrow, I believe, Dr. Guzman, today or tomorrow, tonight or tomorrow, a letter will go out.
Tomorrow, Dr. Kitamura.
Okay, great.
Through Parent Square.
Okay, wonderful, through Parent Square. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that as well. All right, we're going to begin the Q&A. And again, down at the bottom of your screen and the Facebook questions, don't worry, put them in the comments and those will be brought over as well. All right, panelists, you ready? Here we go. How will you be handling live synchronous instruction at the high school level? Will each teacher be required to teach synchronously? Oops. Uh-oh.
It got answered, I think, Dr. Kitamura.
Okay. All right. What are the student options and services and distance learning live interaction sessions on the afternoon on the schedule? Are they optional? Trying to figure out after school activities, work, and appointments.
Director Dillon, will you answer for elementary? And Dr. Goyle, will you answer for secondary?
Yes. Sorry, I was just going to reread the question. Do you mind restating it, Diane? Oh, I apologize.
I owe you.
I know. I just want to make sure I get all the parts. I apologize.
No, that's good. What are the student options and services and distance learning live interaction sessions on the afternoon on the schedule? Are they optional? Trying to figure out school activities, work, and appointments. Thank you for that question.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's a good question I wanted to get. So the afternoons for elementary include a couple of things. First of all, they do include office hours in which a student could meet with their classroom teacher. Perhaps they have a question, need some help on an assignment. And so that's one option. That would be a live interaction with their teacher. They would seek that out, as would you as a parent perhaps, and help them in doing so, but that's one available option. In addition, we will be providing students in elementary will have PE and music instruction, and some of that will occur in the after lunch time. So you will learn more about that as we get a bit closer to the school year. You'll know when your child has their PE or their music time, and so that also is live interaction with the PE or music teacher. And in addition to that, in the afternoon, there is, and you'll see in the schedule, the sample schedule in the distance return to school plan, excuse me, different options for small group and intervention. And so that will also be an opportunity where your child might be invited to participate in a reading group or an extra support group. And so while those things aren't set right now, you will be notified and you would hear from your teacher if your child's been invited to participate in some of those smaller group instruction opportunities. And we highly encourage if your child is invited to attend that they do so, because that will be an opportunity for them to get some additional support.
Dr. Goyle?
Hi, and I want to apologize, Dr. Kitamura. Right as you started reading that question, I hit send, and I apologize on that one question about Zoom.
Oh, no
Maybe
problem.
I'll try and answer both of them.
Yeah, no
Hi, everyone. Good evening. The afternoon sessions on the secondary level provide an opportunity for students to, one, yes, participate in office hours. Two, that this might be a great time for their counselor and the student to touch base. The College and Career Center counselor reaching out to students. This is an opportunity for students to do some of their projects together, maybe some collaborative learning. This is a time for small groups that teachers might pull together small groups of students for further support or enrichment. There is also an opportunity, we've heard from students, can I still be in a club? So this might be an opportunity for students who are in clubs to continue some kind of club interaction during this time. So on the secondary level, we're a lot of student choice here to promote not only student ownership of what they need, but also to allow teachers the opportunity to really focus in on students' needs, as well as all of our staff, counselors, college career counselors, and our family engagement counselors even.
Great, great. Okay, excellent question. The next question, what instructions will they have on the first day of school in order to know how to proceed? So let's talk about the first day of school at the elementary, middle, and high school. What should parents expect? What should kids expect?
Elementary directors, Ms. Haley, maybe you can speak to this a little bit.
So the first day of school will be a connection with the classroom, with the teacher, seeing their friends, seeing their teacher, getting to know them. So we were going to focus on really connecting so we make interactions.
And how about secondary?
Director Zalinardo?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. Obviously, the first day of school is important because it brings with it a lot of excitement and a chance to kind of kick it off the right way. So everything Director Haley said is very true for secondary. It's about connection. So students will have a chance to attend their classes. Monday will be periods 1, 3, and 5. And so students will have a chance to attend those classes, meet their teachers, get acquainted with the year, the scope of what's going to happen through syllabi, and know what the classes will be focusing on, and a chance to build connections and relationships, which will continue as the week progresses. And we can't wait for them to do so.
Okay, let's go to the next question. The next question is, if our kids are not being able to learn via Zoom due to age, attention span, learning ability, is there an alternative to Zoom during distance learning throughout the 4 to 5 days a week? Oh, excellent question. Who'd like to address this?
I think Assistant Superintendent Mazzara and I can both sort of address this. We do have some options with independent study in which it's more maybe packet-based, and there are directions online on our website. If you just type in the search bar independent study, that's one option that you could possibly utilize. Mr. Mazzara, did you want to address that as well? $5, Mr. Mazzara.
I got your 5 here. In either setting, I think we can make those kind of accommodations, and make sure that we're providing all the services that we need for anyone that fits in whatever that setting is. We want to encourage a setting that fits the student and the family's needs best as possible, and distance learning may do that. The Learning House, of course, or independent study. So each are available. Independent study is a more limited program and requires a different kind of structure to it, but it's available to everybody.
And I think to please communicate with the teacher or the principal or the counselor, if this is an elementary, level students, it looks like it is. Let's try to figure out, still in the same setting, with the teacher, how we can better accommodate the children's learning needs. So if you sense it, please say something quickly. All right, next question. But are teachers required to hold live synchronous classes every day but Wednesday? So from a parent's perspective, they're trying to figure out, okay, what does live instruction mean every day? How will this look? So Steve, you want to talk about the live synchronous instruction, or maybe talk about the Wednesdays?
Yeah, so obviously instruction is synchronous, and that's different. The Wednesdays are kind of being something we're putting together right now of a multiple kind of tiers. Dr. Goyle already gave some of them where there is an interaction, there's participation that the teacher set up, and there's some interaction that could be anything from a counseling session, a restorative session, an SST meeting, a club meeting. I mean, the point we're trying to do is make sure that there is some still connection to the students, something that's meaningful, but some kind of alternative. You heard some of the ideas in elementary as well. At the high school level, that's kind of where we want to kind of get kids connected to those other things like clubs and activities. So we're still waiting to hear officially what our auditors and our CD is going to sign off to, and what that has to look like and how we record it. That's kind of an internal thing, but I think the structures of what they do, we'll be able to set up pretty quickly.
Sorry, my dog is in the back room, very excited. Let's see, the next one is, will seniors be taking SAT or ACT this year?
I can address the simple part of that question, which is those have been postponed for the CSU and the UC. Students, of course, if there is an opportunity to return to schools, may opt to do so and have a chance to do so. That'll be pending the return to school possibilities down the road. But we do know that there might be other universities or institutions that are looking for those scores. But for the CSU and the UC, they have postponed those, and many colleges have done so because of the pandemic.
In mute and not mute, I'm going to kill myself. Okay, please confirm, if a parent chooses 100% DL, there is no opportunity to change to hybrid in the first semester if it becomes available. However, if a parent chooses distance learning hybrid, there is an opportunity to remain in distance learning even if hybrid becomes available. Who would like to respond to that?
If a parent chooses, so yes, you can go. Sorry, I need to read it
So
again.
if a parent chooses DL, there's no opportunity to change to hybrid in the first semester if it becomes available. So let me just stop there. If there's space in hybrid after all the classes are set, I do think you could potentially change to hybrid, but there has to be space, okay? So the second part is, however, if a parent chooses distance learning hybrid, there is an opportunity to remain in distance learning even if the hybrid schedule becomes available. I would again say yes. The distance learning piece of it coming off of hybrid is actually a little more easy to do that change than it is to come into hybrid. So, into hybrid. So the answer really to the whole thing is, if there's a need, we want to hear what it is. And if space allows, we want to work together with you on that, okay? The next question. I have signed my child up for Learning House, but still do not feel confident that I have enough information to truly understand what this is. Could someone please give an example of how this might work for a middle school student? Will they be completing the same curriculum as in DL? I want to make sure that if we do not like Learning House and wants to change to DL at the end of the semester, that she will not be behind. So Katie, would you like to respond to that one?
Sure. Yes, so you will have the option to go to distance learning or hybrid wherever the school is at the semester. How it's structured is a little bit different than a traditional middle high school. So We have what will be called a 7-9 house. So it's grades 7, 8, and 9 together. There's going to be 8 teachers in that program, all incredibly qualified and just eager to be working with students. So the idea behind the way that we've structured it is not only will students be learning kind of direct content related to their grade level, but then also being able to work like 7th and 8th graders together, or 8th graders and 9th graders together on projects that relate to the real world, doing things within the community or addressing specific issues in our community through the lens of math, science, English, social science. In addition, we have an art teacher who has jumped on board so that we can really kind of round out this whole curriculum and how we're addressing not only the standards, but also students' needs. So I think one of the pieces that's super exciting about it is just the ability for us to be able to do small group learning and really customize education, so that it's not only this idea of, okay, we're sitting in a classroom, we're learning what we're supposed to be learning, and we're going to keep moving on whether you're ready to move on or not. But it's this idea of mastery. And so students are really going to be able to master that content and then also push themselves beyond. So it's really this idea of bringing back the love of learning and kind of answering the why.
Great. That's great. And Jenna, I encourage you, if you have further questions, Katie Barr, Miss Barr right there, she'd be more than happy to answer. So, okay. The next question, will students be able to, no. When will no. You guys got to stop doing this to me. When you guys click it, the question jumps everywhere. Wait till I read the question, then push send or push the button. Okay. Sorry, now where am I? All right, I lost a question somewhere. I think it was about schedules. When will schedules be? I don't know. Okay, let's just go to this one. When will we be given our students schedules?
I'd be happy to take that one, Diane.
Sure.
So it's a multi-part answer. As school sites complete their master schedules and publish those master schedules, that's the lingo in Illuminate, the student information system, those schedules become available through the student portal, the student and parent portal. So for example, once Santa Rosa High's published their schedules, then students and parents will be able to log in and see their schedules at Santa Rosa High. Different schools are in different places in that process based upon receiving information for Learning House and the distance learning options. So schedules are in general not published at this time.
Yes, but they are coming soon, hopefully next week, because we do have orientations beginning next week. So thank you for that. Okay. What are the exceptions on Zoom, workload and teacher interaction?
So Director Dillon, do you want to answer that for elementary?
Yeah. So for Zoom, that is going to be kind of the main way in which your child's teacher provides their live instruction. And so you would expect your child to be on Zoom daily at some level so that they can meet with their teacher and engage in the live instruction. And that is not going to be for a continuous 4 hours, but will be broken up as the teacher sees appropriate in terms of planning their lessons. So it might be shorter sessions or longer sessions depending on the lesson. But we do want your children to participate. We do want them to attend the Zoom lessons because that's where they're going to get some live instruction and also have an opportunity perhaps to interact with their peers or do what we call breakout groups in the Zoom sessions. And that's all really important. But do know that there will be a balance because we also know that students need time off the computer. So there'll be that balance of time on and time off to work on projects or assignments, to read, to do what we call unplugged activities, which might be, you know, going for a walk or doing an art activity. So it will be balanced with the student's age and, you know, developmental appropriateness in mind, of course.
Director Llamas, do you want to take it for secondary?
It will be, students will be connecting with their teachers depending on their period, on their class period. It will be similar. There will be time when they are also interacting live with a mechanism similar, Zoom or otherwise, that the teacher selects. And there will be time that is allowed for them to do work, interact, and then also office hours. So it's a combination of interaction with live interaction, and also other ways of connecting and submitting assignments.
Thank you.
Okay. If we choose the December distance learning, does it mean they will be behind in their learning?
No, they will not. Since we're all in distance learning, at least until we look into October, and if they continue, they're going to receive the same curriculum that everybody else is, and so they will not be behind. But I hope they do take some consideration of that extra time in the afternoon if needed.
And maybe just a brief description about how district-wide we have essential standards that we're going to be working with.
Yes, and so one of the things K-12 that is going to be worked on next week through our professional development with teachers is really looking at the essential standards for each of the grade levels and disciplines taught. And one of the beautiful things too that we have is that we have 2 hours every Wednesday for our teachers to participate in ongoing PD. And so I believe that there'll be a lot of coherence in our district to be able to support our students in a very effective way.
Great. So this is a question about supplies. What kinds of supplies need to be purchased for students? This was in particular to Santa Rosa Middle School, but I think it'd be great for you all to share how we're going to be distributing supplies and various things from the district.
I will take it for elementary.
Sure.
So for elementary, we will be distributing Chromebooks the upcoming week to have them for the first day of school. And then during the week of August 17th through 21st, we'll be distributing supplies such as crayons, colored pencils, scissors, supplies students will need at home to be successful, also workbooks.
Okay. And so basically, Ms. Haley, they're going to hear this from their principal.
They will. They'll be getting it from their principal, and they will be able to go to school and pick the supplies up.
Okay, great. And secondary?
Hi, everybody.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Secondary will also have supplies given out, and we will be hearing, again, we'll be working with, just as Elisa said, with the elementary. Secondary will be providing information at their school sites regarding how this will be done. Chromebooks will be distributed as well. And again, more information will be coming from the sites.
Director Evans, what about art supplies? What about kids who are taking art or things like that?
Yes, we're working at this time with VAPA, Visual and Performing Arts Department chairs, around the supplies that are needed for the students who are taking art at home. And we will order those supplies, and then they'll be distributed, as Director Goyle said, through communication with principals. The principals will then connect with their families to schedule those distribution days.
Great, thank you. What about schools such as Surfax that do not have PE, music, etc.? Will the teachers be doing this instead?
So just like they've done at the other charter schools, they may have specialized teachers to be able to provide that, or the classroom teacher will be providing that. However, obviously, like everybody else, it'll be done through distance learning.
How will free lunch work for students? Daily, weekly, also at what sites? Rick, are you going to address that?
Sorry about that. Free lunch will work similarly to the spring with grab and go meals provided on a daily basis for all students.
Great. Please be sure, parents, to fill out the meal application. At the end of this, we'll put up a slide that talks about that, but it is so important. Don't worry about it if you think you qualify or don't qualify. What helps us with everybody applying, then we know everybody's applied. We don't search out kids. So please apply. This year, since March 13th, our Child Nutrition Services has served over 600,000 meals. And so that tells you what the need is out there. So please fill out the application. Okay, how is attendance going to be monitored? I feel mandatory attendance at Classroom Zoom is imperative to provide the best learning for all students in the class. Steve?
Yeah, so attendance will probably feel very similar to parents. Attendance will be taken daily. Phone calls will be sent out. The phone calls probably won't come out that same evening because we have to give teachers time for distance learning participation into the next day, but parents will receive phone calls. They call in an absence just like they would normally, or they can send an email to their attendance people. It'll be available visually on the parent portal. And then students that fall off the attendance marker for 60% or more attendance will be actually called and re-engaged is the language we're using in our plan to try to find out what the connectivity or what the issue has been. So I think for parents, it'll feel pretty similar that you'll be notified if your child was not coming on to Zooms and not participating. And then you'll have your ability to interact with the office to kind of find out what's going on. That was a mistake. You can clear absences, medical appointments, just like you would. You'd call in, type in or call in and say, you know, my son and daughter's going to be on a medical appointment this Wednesday. We're going to miss class. All that will feel very normal.
Okay. Okay. I feel this too, Mr. or Mrs. Marks. School is starting in 10 days. I feel unprepared. We have received schedule of classes, passwords, book learning materials that one would hope would be available prior to the 17th. Probably we have not received. Can you walk us through what the first day of school routine for high school freshmen might look like? Great question.
So yeah, so I think I'm just going to answer a little bit, then I'm going to hand it over to my directors. But I will say that you will be hearing from your high school next week about the time to pick up your schedules, to pick up books, to pick up the laptop, if that's something that you are needing to be able to address those needs. And I agree with Dr. Kitamura. We feel the same way, but it's par for the place we're in. And then I'm going to turn it over to Director Zolinardo, who discussed this a little bit earlier about what this is going to look like for a freshman and for really all kids in the district that first day.
Yeah, thank you. If you were unable to see the earlier part of our community meeting, I'll restate just two things. One, of course, any student new to a learning environment, even in a classroom on the same campus, is going to be nervous and anxious and excited. So our teachers are well aware of that, and we've committed to the beginning of the year making sure it's about connections and connecting students to the school, the classroom, the teacher, each other. It will also include information that will help lay out what the year will be like for that class, expectations in terms of what the focus will be for learning, materials to be used, and details that will help students feel comfortable. And then of course it's the schools and the district's responsibility over the rest of the time in the learning environment to connect the student as much as possible with the school and their classmates and each other and the teacher. And we'll work on that throughout the year, and it's going to be challenging for all of us, but we look forward to making it as good as it can be, as best as it can be. Thank you.
It doesn't indicate what high school you attend, but I do have orientation dates. So for Carrillo, it is Tuesday, August 11th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. For Montgomery High School, it's Thursday, August 13th at 9 a.m. via Zoom. For Ridgeway High School, it's Friday, August 14th. It's all day, 8 to 3 as a drive-through. For Santa Rosa High School, it's Thursday, August 13th, 8 to 10 p.m. via Zoom. Pioneer has not provided a date yet, but you will be hearing from your principal. I just wanted to show you that they have these dates planned and ready for you to hear about what you need to be prepared for the first day. So thank you for that question. From Facebook, we have a question from Nicola around school site guidelines for the return to school, references to CDC guidelines, looking about PPE, making sure that everything has been provided, and school sites have protocols throughout the district.
I shared, I'll start off and Rick and anybody add in. I shared with Nico and the other nurses a copy of the procedures that we explained to our CSEA staff and the office staff that was coming back on Monday. And we walked through many of the things around that. It's not a hospital protocol, but it's what we've been using in our summer school programs or our summer offices, and kind of explains many of those things. At the same time, there are nuances per each site that the staff must meet with the site administrator, as an example, to determine which bathrooms will be used, how the shared space, the lunchroom will be used or not be used. They're talking about rotation schedules in some offices where they have a large number of employees. So we've given a general guideline, but there are some obviously site-by-site decisions they have to make to kind of make some adjustments to that.
Okay. Are there any differentiations for TK students from what has been shared in terms of information, plans, schedules, etc.?
So for our TK students, we do not have a separate schedule. The sample schedule and the start time and lunch and break is all very much the same. What I would say, however, is that next week we have 3 days of professional development with our teachers, in which our TK teachers are an amazing group of 11 or 12 who work very closely together and have a very good understanding of the developmental needs of their students. They're going to get together and plan, and they will do a lot of planning around what type of instruction is most appropriate, how long students can attend, what programs to use. So their instruction will look different per se than you would see in a 5th grade classroom, of course, but you should still expect your student to engage live with the teacher and get on Zoom and have some of that live interaction. It'll be good for them, and they'll love to see their friends. But the teachers are going to do a lot of planning around that. You'll get more details as you have your teacher assigned to you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're there. Did everybody see the note from Beth? When you write the answers, then the folks can't see them. So, all right. Do you anticipate that the homework load will be similar to in the past? Are there guidelines or the amount of homework in addition to distance learning during the first part of the day?
You know, I think that's a hard question to answer right now, just because we've never really been in distance learning like this before. But I will say that I do appreciate the very clear MOU with our Teachers Association, in which we have very specific protocols about the expectations. For all that's in the return to school plan around students and parents and teachers. And I think one of the things that's going to be imperative is that as they are working through their essential standards and we're having the 2 hours of professional development time, we're going to actually be able to have these types of conversations collectively with our teachers to see how we can calibrate that, so that there's not too much and there's not too little, that it's just right, as they would say. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I also think, what kind of homework? You know, what is the purpose of the homework? I think are all questions we have to address and look at in this different environment. Okay, so will a detailed, this is like, I think a comment, a detailed schedule would be fantastic. So I think getting the schedules out and so people know, and in which we said it'll be, you know, next week is our goal to get schedules out. So we're working hard. Okay, when will we find out what supplies to buy for middle school? So I think we've already answered that. earlier that you'll be hearing from your principals about when distribution for supplies will be available. So just be on the look for your principal's message. Yes, we were able to figure out that you were talking about PMARCs that we were talking about had not received. And so we did go ahead and address it about getting schedules out and all the information that you talked about in there. Okay. Let's see, the next question is, I want to decide whether to keep my student on DL until December or consider hybrid. Can you speak to how SRCS is preparing school facilities to prepare for hybrid learning? Have you assessed indoor air quality and HVAC efficiency at each site? Are you able to use MERV 13 filters that screen virus particles? Or are we relying on mechanical ventilation via windows and fans? What other special measures are you taking to help parents feel confident in sending our children back to SRCS school facilities when the opportunity comes in Sonoma County? I'm especially interested in Montgomery High. So I think Rick will address a lot of this. I'm going to let him go ahead and start, and then I think I'm going to have some input into that. But let's see what Mr. Edson says first.
Thank you. So yeah, and I'll speak to Montgomery in general terms at the end of this, but for all of our school sites, we have gone through every campus assessed. We're also having our HVAC contractor go through and assess. One of the important things to know that industry standard traditionally and historically has been MERV 8 filters. For those not familiar, the MERV system is a rating for particle filtration through air filters similar to what you would have in a home or office. Medical facilities are generally up around MERV 18 or 20. Most commercial buildings and schools are, the standard would be MERV 8. So we have been going through, we're continuing to go through school sites right now with filter replacement and upping the filters where we can to at least a minimum of MERV 11 to take care of air quality in our school buildings. We're also looking at how much outside airflow can go through these units. One thing that we do have to be concerned about, the higher we go up in MERV filter numbers, as well as opening outside air to come into the system, is the additional strain that it puts on the units themselves. So we've also, in addition to the filters and the room assessments, our site assessments are also adding HEPA filters into each classroom and office area that will also recirculate the air 3 to 4 times an hour, I believe, maybe 5 times an hour in some locations, depending on size, as precautionary measures to ensure the cleanest air that we can at this point in time. Montgomery High School, they have been going through construction this summer on roofing and HVAC. They'll take part in the same assessment and the same filter replacement. In addition to their new HVAC units, they'll also receive HEPA filters in each classroom and office area as well. We're taking additional steps to protect the site in general by limiting public access with a kiosk model in front of the school to protect both staff, and if students return, we anticipate having something similar in place along with the measures that Mr. Mazzara spoke about earlier, I believe, about protocols for entry and use of school site facilities.
Rick, do you want to speak to removal of desks and out of classrooms so there is no issue around the 16 maximum and 12 maximum? That's one of the ways that we're ensuring safeguards is really reducing down the number of people in classrooms.
Right, and so if we do return to the, or when we do return, as we originally planned at the beginning of the year, but now is postponed at least to the quarter, we did take precautions in terms of our agreements with our teachers, as well as following guidance of trying to maintain a 6-foot minimum distance between students. So we have removed desks and other tables from classrooms for grades 4 through 12, ensuring that a maximum of 16 students can be placed in the classroom, and for grades K through 3, making that number 12 students per classroom. The site's classrooms have been marked. Furniture has either already been removed or is being removed, with markers on the floor for where the desks need to sit in order to accommodate the 6-foot social distancing requirement. We're also taking additional precautions. We have electrostatic sprayers for sanitation on all of our sites, to regularly clean hallways, high traffic areas, and restrooms during the day on a schedule that is provided to each site, going forward in order to maintain and attempt to maintain a clean facility, knowing that more students and staff members would be there in a hybrid environment.
And Rick, the Montgomery HVAC roofing, is that the entire high school?
I believe there's some portable rooms that are not getting new HVAC, but for the main buildings that were there, they will have new HVAC units. The portables are part of another project in the future, but they'll all receive HEPA filters in coordination with ensuring their AC units are working.
I just want to say, in addition to this, we have PPE that we have procured on our own in preparation for the school year that will last the year. That includes masks, sanitizing gel, wipes. We just did not want to depend on any other entity to be ready, and so our warehouses are full of the safety equipment that we need to ensure safety. So I hope that answers that question in terms of how we are going to facilitate the opening. Okay, will Math 3 graduation requirements be reconsidered with the disruption to education these kids have had over the past 3 years?
Dr. Boyle?
Yes, thank you. Math 3, we will still consider, we will still have our same math graduation requirements. Our teachers are working together on their essential standards and prioritizing the learning so that students have a natural progression from one grade to another grade, just as they've always had in that vertical articulation. So they're really going to spend some time working together and really focusing on all those prioritized standards. We still have Math 1, we still have Math 2, we still have Math 3, and we have a very talented math group of teachers who are going to be able to support our students in their math learning.
Okay, thank you. When can we expect to connect with principals from our schools, maybe via a school-specific Zoom? I have not received any info around my daughter's class schedule, first day of school, etc. She's entering 7th grade at RVMS.
So next week on the 10th, 11th, and 12th, our principals will be in professional development with our teachers. And then they will be back on site, air quotes, with their staffs. And so I believe Principal Barr, did you want to talk about sort of when you were thinking about reaching out to your families as sort of a way to see when principals are going to be doing that? I'm sure everybody's going to be sending out a letter, but.
Yes, sorry. I was answering a question in the Q&A. So I just actually sent out information. We built a student and parent guide that we sent out along with just a short letter. So that guide kind of gives all of the key information that our families need to know kind of starting the school year. And then we'll be doing, this orientation next week, and then a series of videos, welcome back videos between the admin our teachers, our leadership program, our Puma peers. Is that answering your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Multitasking, so not good.
That's good. Good. Okay, what are the elementary school hours going to be like? Will they log in at 8 a.m., log off at 12 p.m.? As a working from home parent at this moment, I just want to get an idea of how it's going to work.
So at 8 o'clock is when teachers will most likely have their classroom, the start of their classroom at 8 a.m. They won't be on Zoom the entire time. No, they won't have live interaction the entire time. What they will be getting is different lessons, and the teachers will give an information sheet the first week of school explaining exactly when they will hold different small interactions, whole group interactions, and they will also do different lessons, and sometimes we call them unplugged, which have no computer involvement at all.
Great. Thank you. I heard parent conferences might be happening the first week of school. If yes, why so soon?
That's a great question. We did, during our return to school planning, we heard from a lot of our elementary school teachers that really felt that, as all teachers feel, that kind of connection with students at the beginning of the year is critical, and that in this remote learning format, that really is very different than usually how they start the school year. So it was their request to move the conferences to the beginning of the year so they could meet parents, they could meet students, and they could really kind of establish that connection, including helping get on the computer, making sure you can log on and access all the things that they will need you to be able to access or support your child with. So it really came out of a request to connect early on with parents and students.
Yeah, great. Okay, will there be any adjustments to graduation requirements, high school, for high school?
Not at this time. We will continue moving forward, as Dr. Boyle said, with our current graduation requirements.
If we go back to school, would freshmen, sophomores be together one day and junior, seniors be together on other days? So basically, would the cohorts be separated by juniors and seniors and freshmen and sophomores? The answer to that is no. That's not how we're doing the cohorts right now. We're not doing them that way. It's really around many other things, but not about your grade level. And then just to clarify the requirements for daily live teaching.
Live teaching or daily live interaction, I'm thinking?
Daily live teaching.
Okay, so I actually know Tanya. Tanya, I think you're probably talking at the high school level, specifically at Montgomery. So Director Zelenardo, could you answer that right now?
Yeah, just unmuting myself. Let me go back to the question as I was typing. And if you don't mind rereading it.
Sure.
Well, I think it went away.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I caught part of it and then I didn't see it.
Live teaching. What does it mean for daily live teaching?
Okay, and I think you were clarifying that, Dr. Guzman, this is about when they're actually on a Zoom or interacting in some kind of like quote unquote classroom environment.
I believe that's what Ms. Faustina was saying, yes.
Yeah, that's what I think. So in that situation, you will have kind of like a few direct possibilities. One, there will be some instruction occurring, of course. Two, there might be some interactive activity that the instructor is having students engage in while providing feedback and having students interact intrapersonally with each other. Also, there could be a demonstration of learning a clarification, a question and answer session, a chance to dig deeper on a particular place where a class might need some extra instruction. So it's going to change depending on the classroom and the structure and the needs of the students. And you should see a variety of different experiences occurring in there so that students are engaged in a multitude of different ways. I appreciate you restating the question for me, and thank you.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left, so let's see what we can do here. What about orientation for high school? So I mentioned we do have orientation schedules. They're scheduled for next week. Your principals will be getting that information out very shortly, if not already. Some of them are in the daytime, some of them are in the nighttime. They are virtual. There is not an expectation that you're going to go to an orientation. So just to let you know that. What about electives? If our students requested 2 electives, will that still be an option?
Yes, it will still be an option. However, it will be through distance learning.
Okay. If you have chosen the distance learning hybrid option, will you still have a choice if the students go back and you are not comfortable having your children return to the classroom? Can you choose to have them remain at home? The answer is yes. We can work that out. Going to hybrid, as I said in an earlier message, might be a little more difficult just for spacing reasons. So I just want you to know that. Okay. Are the sessions after lunch required, i.e. students have to check in for attendance, or optional if they don't need help or counseling or want to participate in clubs, etc. for the secondary schools?
Yes, they are. Yes, that is a great question. Yes, they are optional. However, we're hoping that you actually participate because I think this is going to be another great opportunity for students.
If your student is enrolled in school already, do they need to sign up for the distance learning plan? And if yes, how do we get the access code to make a portal online?
So
tomorrow's the deadline. We would really definitely like you to select distance learning hybrid or distance learning. And then the portal question I will pass on.
The portal question is best assistance is reach out to your school site. The ESOM, the family engagement facilitator, the principal is also a contact for that, depending upon what your level is. And if you're having trouble or struggling with the portal, just email the principal your distance learning request and they can put it straight into the system themselves.
Okay. If we enter hybrid, what examples, reasons can you give for why we would go back to total DL? I think that means if COVID-19 does something and then we have to go back to DL. Yes. So it would be strictly the data and primarily going back on the watch list. That's what really is the trigger for going back onto distance learning. Okay, can parents ask for these standards for courses their students are taking?
100% for sure, and that's actually something that we could work with our site administrators to share with families.
Well, and really a part of their syllabus too.
Yes.
So, okay. Okay, so I don't know where to start on this one. I've not heard anything that will be different in the fall than it was in the spring. It sounds like the students will still be burdened with being in front of a laptop screen with little to no provision for the idea that students have vastly different learning styles. My child was on the screen all day, then doing homework on the computer all night at the high school level. This is stressful, not fair, and not healthy. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Kay, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I do. And there's another question in here about the 30 minutes of being sufficient time. So if I can kind of blend those two together.
Yeah.
So we've been working very hard and there are teachers across this entire district that have been using some of the blended learning platforms and practicing over the summer. So the idea is really, if you look at John Hattie's work and Catlin Tucker and Melanie Kitchen. So those are 3 great names to Google because they're kind of on the leading edge in terms of this whole distance learning and how to build blended learning platforms. So the idea being is really where we want to go is not so much the sit and get, which is how we've been doing education in the past. It's like, okay, I'm gonna teach you, then you're gonna do this worksheet, then you're gonna turn that worksheet in and I'm gonna grade it as the teacher. Really what we're trying to do is move to this idea of student is learning to produce. And so that will allow them to go to these higher order thinking skills. So really what we're trying to do is start designing. So you might see in your students' Google Classroom, like option boards or various assignments they can complete, or surveys that's saying, okay, tell me how you feel about this. Or teachers might have small group learning sessions where they actually want to sit and discuss with students. And so these are all a variety of mechanisms that we're trying to use to get students away from kind of that lower level of what maybe your student was experiencing in the spring to a higher order thinking skill. And that goes towards also the question about 30 minutes being enough. I think what you're going to see is there's going to be a variety. It's not going to be, okay, my 30 minutes is up and now I'm cutting off the Zoom. What we're saying is limit the amount of time that you're lecturing and maybe spend more of that time in the Zoom in breakout sessions, asking essential questions so your student is expanding and thinking, expanding their thinking. Or there might be some really tough concept that a student, the students are trying to grapple with. And that might be a time where it's like, okay, I'm going to give my feet forward presentation about this. And then I'm going to back up and I might do some sort of quick survey or quick assessment that's going to help me know where my students are at, so that then I can start customizing those lessons as we're moving forward. So hopefully you're going to see a difference in what your students is experiencing. We have seen some just incredible work that some of these teachers have been doing over the summer and things that they've been practicing and working with each other. So summer really wasn't summer for a lot of our teachers. They spent a lot of time working really hard.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, we're out of time, but I'm going to answer 2 more questions because I think they're really, really important. The first one is around the teachers union and saying that they're going to go and not be available to January. That is not true. What they did was they created a resolution with their thoughts and ideas around the safety and the protocols of coming back or coming in to do in-person school. So it was their statement, kind of their call out to how are we going to determine what's the criteria to come back to school. Teachers Union is working very closely with us, so I want you to know that as a parent that asked that question. The other one I want to address very quickly is social and emotional and what we're doing in Santa Rosa City Schools. I can tell you, I can't be more proud to be able to say that in Santa Rosa City Schools, we have not only a full set of school counselors, elementary counselors, we also have MFT interns and an MFT who supervises those interns. We have an integrated wellness center. I'm a former counselor. There is nothing more important to me than our connection before content, and that unless our kids are healthy, learning is secondary. They must be healthy and whole. And so I just want to say very quickly that we have lots of services tied to that. Okay, I'm 4 minutes over. We need to get ready for our next meeting. I want to thank all of you for coming here. If we can put up the meal application, I think there is a slide for the meal application, if I'm correct, I think, to have that up as we get and leave it up as we go out. I appreciate you parents so much. The patience that you've had and the understanding and the questions and the concerns that you've written to us. We embrace wholeheartedly, even if sometimes they're a little harsh. I'm going to say, it's still feedback, and so thank you, and continue to. We have a place where you can still address questions. We'll show that as well. So this is about the meal application. So again, please fill out this. Here's the website here. Fill out this application for the meal apps. And then is there a contact page too still on this? Okay, and so if you have questions, here are the places in which you can get your questions answered or submit your questions. If you can, just take a real quick picture of it here so that you'll have it. To the panel, thank you so much for being a part of this and answering everybody's questions. We had about 200 people this time, and we blew out the house last time, and so hopefully people are feeling better and getting their questions answered. And we know that it's a little bit like of a short timeline, but that's just kind of the way things have been as we get answers and get things from the state. We pivot and try to go as fast as we can. So again, thank you for being here. Good night.